Hello, welcome to Levant TV headlines. Syria's water network, heavily damaged by bombs and shelling, is at risk of collapse as its civil war drags on. The international community of the Red Cross has said increasing the threat of deadly typhoid or cholera outbreaks. The family of drowned Syrian toddler Ailing Kurdi, whose photograph swept social media on Wednesday, had been trying to immigrate to Canada after fleeing the war-torn town of Kobani. The Israeli military says its air force had attacked a Hamas military position in the Gaza Strip overnight, from which gunfire had hit homes in southern Israel. A suicide bombing of Houthi mosque claimed by the Islamic State group has killed at least 28 people in the Yemeni capital Sana'a, ratcheting up tensions ahead of the first White House summit between the US and regional powers Saudi Arabia. And the Iran nuclear deal, strongly backed by President Barack Obama and just as ardently opposed by the Republican Party, is now on track to get through Congress. And now let's have a look at the top headlines in today's newspapers in the Middle East. In Beirut, the Daily Star leads reporting that the UN Security Council has called on Lebanon's parliament to elect a new president to help ease a political crisis that had fueled street protests in the country. The paper also reports that General Security says that it arrested a Lebanese citizen as part of its mission to monitor the movement of terrorists and sleeper cells in the country. The Egypt Independent leads reporting that the Foreign Ministry is bracing for an expat vote in Egypt's upcoming parliamentary elections, the last of three phases of the future roadmap of the country. The paper also reports that Russia has given France the green light to sell 2 Mistral helicopter carriers to Egypt and the UAE. And from the UAE, the Khalij Times leads reporting that the EU executive will outline new plans next week to shed out refugees across European states, as well as to speed deportations of unwanted migrants. The paper also reports that 3 times more the total volume of concrete and man-hours used in the construction of the Burj Khalifa have already been used at the UAE's first nuclear energy plant, Baraka, making the construction site of identical reactors the biggest in the world. And now let's have a look at top Middle East headlines from papers here in London. In the Telegraph, a report that the family of a Syrian toddler whose body washed up on a Turkish beach had been trying to emigrate to Canada after fleeing the war-torn town of Kobani. One of their relatives told a Canadian newspaper on Thursday. A photograph of the tiny body of 3-year-old Ailing Kurdi washed up in the Asian resort of Bodrum swept social media on Wednesday, spawning sympathy and outrage at the perceived inaction of developed nations in helping refugees. And the Independent reports that millions of displaced children are being deprived of a basic education, according to a startling report from the United Nations Children's Agency, UNICEF, which adds how the hopes of an entire generation are at stake unless the international community acts. Surging conflict and political turmoil across the Middle East and North Africa is preventing 13.4 million young people from going to school, according to the charity's latest report, Education Under Fire. Also from the UK, The Guardian leads reporting that the Prime Minister David Cameron faced accusations of heartlessness after he insisted Britain should not take any further refugees from the war-torn Middle East, as community groups prepared to show that councils in the UK are willing to take thousands more. The Prime Minister knows he and the Home Secretary, Ms Theresa May, will be pressured over the migration issue when Parliament returns next week, but some senior Tory backbenchers said they expected Cameron to shift his ground after distressing pictures of a drowned child who had been found washed up on a beach in Bodrum in Turkey. And now let's have a look at the Middle East headlines in international papers. From Berlin, the Deutsche Welle reports that French magistrates have closed their investigation into the 2004 death of former Palestinian leader Yasser Arafat, whose widow insisted her husband was poisoned. Lawyers of Suha Arafat have argued that his death was a political assassination and vowed to appeal the decision in court. And China's Global Times reports that US President Barack Obama has got enough votes in Congress to keep the Iran nuclear agreement alive after the deal gained a minimum of congressional votes needed to forestall any disapproval resolution from lawmakers. Democratic Senator Barbara Melkusir reports support has added up 34 Senate approval votes that is enough to forestall any congressional resolution disapproving the international pact. That's it for today's news. For more updates, please visit our website on levant.tv. Thanks for watching and bye for now.